Hi, everyone. Welcome to Planner Collaborative's Power Conversations with Master Parent Coach Lisa Pizzi. We are so excited to have you here today, Lisa. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me on.
To anyone here who's new to our Power Conversations, we try to have a conversation every week with somebody wonderful and powerful supporting women in divorce. We at Planner Collaborative are all about supporting women, helping them feel strong and empowered and confident in their divorce. And we bring in people to have conversations with that are going to support you through that, whether it's legally, financially, as a parent, to support yourself so that we can make this whole process a little less awful, really, is what we're going for. So we're so glad that you're all here. No matter where you are in your journey, too, if you're thinking about divorce, you're in it, you're really at the end of it, or even after the fact, there's something here for everybody. Today's conversation is going to focus around how we can support our kids in divorce. And I think there's so much you can pull from this conversation around divorce and transition to support you in all of your parenting. So before we start, I want to invite everyone to just take a moment to acknowledge how much you're carrying as a parent, as a mom going through divorce. It's already so much to be a human in this world and to be a partner or an ex-partner, to be a parent, to have a career, to be caregiving down to children, potentially caregiving up to aged parents, to other responsibilities in your life. So thank you for taking time for yourself to listen to this. Our sincere hope is that you will walk away with a few tips that make you feel like you have a little bit more control, a little bit more peace in your life. So I invite everyone to take a deep breath and just get ready for this fantastic conversation with Lisa Pizzi. Moving into meeting Lisa. Lisa is a master parent coach. So we're going to talk all about what that means. She is a parenting guru and whiz on all things related to children. And today we're going to focus this conversation on connection, what it is, why it matters, how you can rebuild it or strengthen it. And I think if we walk away with one thing, it's this idea that nothing is perfect. Connection will be broken, it will be disrupted. That doesn't matter. It's how we come back to it. It's how we apologize, how we repair, how we connect back. So, Lisa, before we kind of dive into all the good stuff, could you tell us a little bit about how you got here, how you found your way as a parent coach, and what your work looks like day to day?
Sure. I grew up as the only child of a single mom, and I really loved being around big families. I have a ton of cousins myself and friends with big families. I knew that when I had kids, I wanted to be the best parent that I could be. So coming out of college, I nannied for a couple of years, and then I went into early childhood teaching. And that was a great experience, both in public and private schools. And from there, I started earning certifications and around different ways to help children manage their behavior and parents how to manage their expectations about behavior. And after that, I became pregnant in 2012 and kept earning certifications all the way through. And I was working as an independent personal stylist, and each and every client was a mom. And
Mhm.
each and every client, we always ended up sitting on their closet floor and talking about their kids. And I realized I had much more to offer as a parent coach than as a personal stylist. And luckily, my client supported me in that. And I made the transition. I went through a lot of training to become a master parent coach, trauma informed, and a somatic healer. I hope to help families find the peace in their everyday so that they can have fun with their children, peace with themselves, and ideally a calm co-parenting relationship. It doesn't matter if you're married, separated, divorced, you really want to co-parent together well.
That's amazing. Everything you said, finding peace in parenting really stands out for me. I think that's something that I'd say all the parents we talk to, all the moms, anyone we work with has said finding some more peace is so important. For us on our best day, finding peace. And then when you're dealing with some kind of massive transition in that divorce journey, it becomes really hard. And
Yeah.
oftentimes our connections get interrupted, and it's how we can repair those. Would love to just touch on two phrases you use just to really define them for people who might not know what they are. You said that you're trauma informed and have experience in somatic work. Could you give us just a quick blurb about what those are for anybody who might not be clear how that works into what you do?
Trauma informed is a different type of practitioner of any kind that can help you if you've dealt with childhood trauma, childbirth trauma, really any trauma in your life, but can come to working together with more empathy towards
Mhm,
trauma and an understanding that there's a need to be sensitive and careful, and there might be words that are hard for you to
mhm,
hear, and just be really clear around boundaries and expectations in your work together. And somatic healing is when you are holding your trauma within your body. So it's another form of trauma training. And it's helping you release that trauma from your body through different types of movements and healing.
Wow, that's great. That's important. Holding stuff in our body. That's something we all do. As you were talking, I thought, oh man, I'm probably crunching my shoulders right now. How do I relax so I
Yes, in
I
your
feel more at
belly.
ease? Exactly. Um, well, thank you for sharing all that and kind of answering those questions. I think there's so much more to talk about there. But that's a great teaser and groundwork for people who are just new to this. Let's kind of dive in and talk about connection. I feel like it's a word we're hearing a lot right now of connection to partners or connection at work or connection to our kids. So for today's conversation, let's talk about connection. Love to hear from you on why it matters, what it is and why it matters, and then specifically why it matters to kids.
Yeah. I think connection is probably one of the most important things we can focus on in any of our relationships. We'll keep it on
Mhm,
kids today and
mhm,
co-parents, but I really think across the board it's important. And connection is really finding a language between you and your child where you're communicating in a way that shows that you understand their needs
mhm,
and really getting down to their level and understanding that any type of reaction from them is probably a need that's being unmet. And if you feel
mhm,
like you're having frustration with your child or they are having a tantrum or overreacting, it's usually because there's something they really, really want to tell you and they just can't find a way through. So having that connection and that safety already in place will let you get to repair much quicker.
mhm.
And I think,
Okay.
oh, yeah,
No, no, please keep going.
with co-parents, no matter where
Mm,
you are in your journey with your co-parent, you both are coming to this relationship and to these children with different backgrounds, with
mhm,
different parenting styles, because the first parenting style we all tend to go to is the one we learned from our parents or the other adults around us. And that might not be everybody's ideal parenting style. So you really need to be values aligned. I definitely advise people before having children, after having children, when your children are 20 years old, just sitting down for a bit and talking about what values are most important for you to impart on your children. And it's good to have family values that you all can focus on. And then that connection can come through in a really authentic way because you're all working towards the same goals
mhm.
of meeting your value chain.
Yeah, that's amazing. As you talk about co-parenting, I'm thinking about how many of us, so this is a moment to say we are both professionals here, but we're also coming to you as moms and as partners and as humans in the world. So connection is something that's really important to all of us. Co-parenting is something I feel like no one talks about ahead of time. We focus on so many other things like the colors you're going to paint walls and cribs and important things like sleeping and feeding, but creating a set of values and deciding what's important and how you communicate and what happens when there's a breakdown in communication and what happens when one parent yells or explodes or retreats and how do you come back and
Hmm.
decreasing the shame around it. I think there's a lot of shame around so much of this. of, oh, I made a mistake. I yelled, I exploded, I hid, whatever it is that hurts you, then gets bigger and grows to this shame of I'm bad. And then we model that for our kids. And I think in a divorce situation where there's so much transition, it's even more important that you are not perfect, that you catch yourself and then know what to do. Um,
Absolutely. And I think
um,
especially in owning your responsibilities,
mm,
like I think people don't spend enough time talking about that, but why does dad always do bath time and mom always does bedtime? Like even in a household where two parents live, everybody should have some flexibility around that because there are going
mhm,
to be nights where parents have other things to do. And somebody else is
mhm,
going to have to do bath time or bedtime, and the children need to learn to be flexible for that.
mhm.
It's a much
Yeah,
healthier environment for them to grow up in.
it is flexibility. I know. So important and often so hard. Um, So, so now we kind of talked about a connection and how important it is and what it means, how we can cultivate that. I'd love to look at now what happens when it's disrupted, what a disruption in connection means and normalize it. I think first and foremost, it's like destigmatizing it, removing the shame. It
Yeah.
happens to all of us. No one's perfect. I can think of 17 things in the past 3 days that I've done or not done to disrupt connection. So would love to hear from you a little bit more on how it gets disrupted, what does disrupt it, how divorce and that transition factors in, and then how you help people normalize it, de-shame it, and any stories you have of clients, I think is always really interesting too. So I'll let you take it from here.
Sure. Um, I think connection is so important, and of course it gets disrupted. One of us gets triggered, like somebody forgot to pack the lunches, the kids are hungry at school. Like there's so much shame around moments like that. They're small things, easily solved, but they can create really big feelings. And equally with shame, there's also resentment. And like you might feel
Mhm,
resentment towards your partner, and he might be feeling or she might be feeling incredibly ashamed, but you're not talking about it because there's been a disruption in the connection. I
mhm,
feel like that's where kindness comes in. You really need to sit down and say, hey, this happened. What can we do to ensure that this doesn't happen again? Because the last thing you need is your children to see you like creating shame in somebody or feeling resentment towards the person that they love second most in the world or 50-50
mhm,
most in the world. And we know it flip-flops between parents is always the favorite one, depending on the day of the week.
mhm. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Yeah, I'm thinking about how important that taking a pause or a moment for yourself is and in kind of the best case scenario, it's really challenging. One of the things we, zooming in a little bit, also really want to share with women going through divorce is caring for yourself, which often gets pushed to the I'll tackle that later after this, and this. Often does better to come to the top. So I don't know if you could speak to when working with people and clients how you've helped them ground themselves before re-engaging.
Yeah, I think when you're going through divorce, there's so much going on. And then let's pretend you have an easy co-parenting split, like 50-50. I'm just making this up, but that 50% of the time, you're probably working with your lawyer, working with your mediator, doing
Mm-hmm.
a million other things other than taking care of yourself. And so when your kids get back to you, you're frazzled, you're tired, you're overwhelmed, like you don't have the energy to connect in the way that you probably want to. I think there really needs to be time built in each day to take care of yourself, whether it's to have a quick 30-minute TV break, like whatever you need. And I
Mm-hmm.
always advise clients to outsource whatever they can. If they happen to have a helpful parent around, a helpful sibling, or a little extra cash to maybe hire somebody to do a little organization or cleaning. I think outsourcing is probably the thing I advise most.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always doable for everybody. Not everybody has family easily around. But I do think you need to find the time when your kids aren't there to ground yourself so that when they're there, you can be 100% on for them. Is going through divorce, it's such a trauma for them.
Hmm.
And they really want to know that their parents still love them and care for them. And they want to know that their parents aren't fighting. So if you are fighting, which most parents probably are if they're divorcing to a degree, you want to keep that out of their earshot and make sure that they don't feel that resentment like building off of you through facial expressions or things like that.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Giving yourself a little bit of space to take that beat. And again, I can't stress enough this like normalizing because I think there's so much I know there's so much shame and stigma, which I say over and over again, and just normalizing that it's okay. You're not bad as a mom, as a dad, as any other parent or caregiver. This happens. We all have those days, moments when we are not our best selves, and it's so easy to beat ourselves up over it. And so this is a great segue into that next section that I want to talk a little bit about coming back to connection. We will lose it. When I say lose connection too, I don't, it's not catastrophic. It's
Yeah.
just when you feel like you're not being the parent you want, your best self, whatever you want to call it. And there's a rupture, there's a disconnect. It also could be just a logistical disconnect, kind of a geographic logistical of your children were with their co-parent and
Mhm.
now they're coming back to you either from their school day or directly from their co-parents house. And so it's just been disrupted by virtue of you being physically apart from each other. And so knowing that that's not bad, that you are strong, you mom and you children are strong and resilient. So yeah, I'd love to hear of how you help people come back to connection and maybe a few really concrete tips or suggestions you have that our listeners could walk away with and say, I got it. I'm ready to try these things or say this thing. Yeah, anything you have there. I think everyone would say, yes, please, please share it.
Moms that I've worked with that are going through divorce, we really work on a 30-minute plan. And it's what to do in the 30 minutes that your kids come home. When they first arrive at your house, no matter where they're coming from, they know exactly what's going to happen. They know that maybe they're going to put their bags in the closet. They are going to sit down and you guys are going to have tea. You're going to have your special moment. Maybe you're going to have a mocktail. Maybe you're going to have cookies freshly made for them every time if you're that kind of mom. Sorry, I don't make cookies. Um,
I don't really either.
but they have something to rely on. Like you're a constant, you're going to be there. This is going to happen. And then they can go off after those 30 minutes of connection and they can do whatever they want to do. Give them a little space. They need to reacclimate to their environment every time they come back to it. But I really advise like a 30-minute routine of reconnection, no matter how many kids you have. Like sitting around the table together, snuggling up on the couch. Like maybe you all have a favorite show you want to watch or a
Mhm.
book that you love to read, but keep it really simple and the same. I wouldn't deviate from it for probably a year or more.
That's great. Yes, yes, I love that. It You introduced me to this phrase so long ago, connect before you correct. And that's been a game changer for me and something we try to share a lot of how do you connect with your child before correct. And it could just be here's where you put your bag, go shower, wash your hands, do your homework, whatever it is. It's how do you connect? And I think particularly for women in divorce and their co-parents when discussing co-parenting plans coming up with what routines are what rituals are helps your kids feel comfortable and safe and so it doesn't have to be identical but perhaps both parents have some kind of ritual that the kids are able to look forward to and I love your idea of a tea time. Sounds delightful to me, but a book, a show, it's time for you to find. It doesn't matter. I feel like you could sit down
Yeah,
on the floor and color on
color.
paper. It just doesn't matter.
It doesn't
Um,
matter. It's just whatever speaks to your kids and their age range and developmentally, kids under the age of 15 are not ready to connect without assistance from their parents. Like they
mhm.
need that repair to come from the adults.
Okay,
And it's
wow, all the way up to 15.
Yeah, they're still kids.
Hmm.
Um, and so we need to be there for them. And especially during hard transitions in life, like divorce, where they might be going between two different houses regularly, really need to be there and have a routine for them and have the supports in place and really have a solid foundation that they know they can come back to no matter what and have an absolutely non-judgmental listening ear. Like they might share things like, oh, at my co-parents' house, we played video games for 8 hours yesterday and drank 7 Cokes. Like, and that might really throw you off, but just listen calmly. Don't judge the co-parent. Just be as calm and collected as you can be.
Hmm. Giving that person grace is something that we
Yes,
really shout from the rooftops. Give yourself grace and give the other person grace when you can, when it's not a
when you can.
matter of safety or life and death. How can
Yeah.
you do that? Um, okay, great. So there's a 30-minute. I love that. I love that for people. What are a few other ideas that you found have worked with clients to come back to connection, and particularly with divorced parents when kids are most often moving between different locations?
Something that has really worked for some of my clients is regularly complimenting their co-parent and
Mm,
being like, wow, I can see that dad packed you this beautiful lunch. That's so kind. Or like, wow, it's so fun that you got to go and do that with mom. Like, that's amazing. I think spending time being complimentary of the co-parent and showing that you still care about them, even if you're ready to rip your hair out and you're frustrated and furious, like just showing that you still have feelings for them in a kind way,
mhm.
because they are still in your life for the rest of your life as your child.
Yes. Yep. Yep. You can't really escape that for the
No.
most part. Um, okay. I love that. Giving compliments.
Hmm.
Showing modeling kindness. It feels
Yeah.
like that's the theme throughout what you do is helping parents come back to kindness. And I think in transition and
Hmm.
stressful overwhelm, that's harder than it is when you're fed and well rested and feel safe and stable.
Yeah.
Um,
Another thing is never make your child the messenger. Like, don't send
mm,
messages to your co-parent through your kids
mhm.
or like little jabs or anything like that. It's not worth
Yes.
it in the long run.
Yes.
The only person it truly hurts is your children and your relationship with them.
Hmm. Yeah, that's great advice to kind of wrap on. And on the takeaways is to the best of your ability,
Yeah.
don't use your kids. It's something that we talk about a lot is don't put your kids in the middle. One of the
Hmm.
beautiful things about mediation, first, and we're big proponents of mediation, is that both individuals can attack a problem as a team. So it's not one versus the other. It's the two of you, you can say versus the problem, or the two of you solving a problem of, hey, we had this marriage, so we had this unit, and now we
Yeah.
want to change it. And I think similarly with co-parenting, we want to make sure that you're focused. And I'd say vast majority of people we talk to, and I imagine people you work with, want to be parents who model kindness and who help their kids feel strong and safe and comfortable. So how do you work together as co-parents to raise these children instead of volleying back and forth with that child in the middle?
Yeah.
It's challenging. So again, normalizing that, it's hard. It is really,
All right.
really hard. And there's going to be days where you feel like you crushed it and days where you feel like you didn't. But then
Yeah.
that absolutely loops back to no big deal. You can correct, you can repair,
Hmm.
you can and do that. So kind of as we wrap up, I'd love to have you share a little bit with everybody how you work with people. Do you do one-on-one? Do you do group sessions? Like how would somebody connect with you and how you would you be able to get them through maybe one specifically challenging
Yeah.
moment or situation or bigger, longer term pieces?
I do one-on-ones. Occasionally it's a single session. It's just to work out a plan for going forward, and that's enough. I also do one-on-ones weekly, monthly. Um, I have worked with couples that are in the midst of beginning their divorce planning,
Mhm.
um, and work with couples after their divorce. And they, for the most part, I want to assume that people are kind
Mhm.
and do want the best for their children. And when people reach out to me, it just shows me that that's what they're looking for. They want to be the best parent they can be. And it's especially great when it's two people and they want to be the best co-parents they can be.
Yeah,
So I am
absolutely.
available to speak to.
That's great. I think you nailed one of the last things I was thinking is working with someone like you, a parent coach and supports while you're in the process, preferably earlier on, so that you can craft that parenting plan according to your values, bringing it back to the beginning, or what
Yeah.
are the things that are important to you? How do you want to together tackle the issues? And then separately, how can you offer grace and kindness while also giving routine and ritual to your children? And
Mhm.
knowing there's no one perfect way. And even if there were, we're all going to mess it up at some point, and that's okay. We'll come back to it. Um, well, thank you so much, Lisa, for being here. This has been a great conversation.
Thank you for having me.
All right, to everyone, thank you for listening. We're so happy to have you with us. We are going to share all of the details to connect with Lisa, Master Parent Coach. You'll find resources on our site to learn more about helping your children through tough times, through all the ups and downs and the turmoil. We also have some say this, not that, to start to get people to think about how you could rephrase sentences and phrases you use to support better communication. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Lisa is going to have so much more for you. So please listen, follow, like, subscribe, all the things, and we'll make sure you're able to connect with Lisa and start that parenting journey together. Thank you. And thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, Megan.